Hi everyone. So this week I'm going to be presenting on knowledge discovery and data mining. All right. So first we have the types of incoming data. So there are large databases that have inpatient, ambulatory, EMR data, financing and accounting data, claims data, human resources reports, demographic data, national benchmarking, international benchmarking, research data, QI, PI, satisfaction reports. So that includes patient, nurse, and doctor. Tons of data. So there are overwhelming amounts of data coming in that needs to be ciphered through to make it usable. So transforming data. Nurse managers and leaders are being inundated with huge amounts of data from various sources, as mentioned in the previous slide. Electronic repositories are emerging to offer the ability to create and discover patterns that are hidden in the data that could be used to significantly improve patient care and management practices. So essentially, there's too much data, and so there are becoming repositories that are able to find these patterns for people so that people aren't spending time looking through this. So knowledge discovery, interdisciplinary area, focusing on methods of extracting useful knowledge from data. So this is just making the data useful. Data mining, like knowledge discovery, is essentially extracting, identifying, categorizing data. Computer programs can use algorithms to predict events. As the data is pulled out, these programs are created to use all of the data to figure out which patients are most likely for pressure ulcers and stuff like that. Some of the challenges is that you have to be able to draw knowledge from research and databases. So this becomes a challenge because there is so much difference in every in research. People use different terms, different ways of measuring, so there isn't really a way to unify all of this, or it becomes difficult unifying that. Some of the solutions. So advanced business intelligence and web discovery programs have the capacity to identify patients at risk for infection, stroke, heart failure, falls, pressure ulcers, readmission, anything you can think of. These programs are able to cipher out this information, determine what is needed, sort of get it all on an equal page, and then determine who's at risk. Analyzing the data, identifying and establishing the crucial infrastructure to successfully demonstrate the results is very complex. So, everything's got to be all measured the same or transitioned into the same. Google and Amazon are actually at the forefront of developing the capability to analyze big data. Not a surprising fact to me. So transition, we're in a period of transitioning from small studies like traditional clinical trials to big data studies. So these are predictive analysis, just pulling all of the data from any other research together to make predictive analysis. So facing challenges basically due to the sheer volume and variety of data that's being processed. When these searches are being pulled, it's just bringing up tons of data, and it all has to be ciphered through just to make sure that it's all equal and relevant and not duplicated. So sometimes they're incorrect, incomplete, improperly formatted, or duplicated entries, which makes these big data studies a little bit harder to do. So it's going to be really important to standardize. So nursing is especially difficult for data mining because nursing is a lot based on personalized and unit-specific methods, whereas other professions, basically go off of a national standard. Nursing is more unit-specific, or even personalized. So you may think an amount of emesis is small, I may think it is large, and there's no real measurement. So it's all based on personal feelings or experience. Same with like bowel movements or any other thing that isn't like precisely measured or has any objective stuff. And that is not usable data because it's all personal. Unstructured text. So in nursing, almost all of the documentation is unstructured text, so like progress notes. So this isn't data that can easily be pulled. It has to be like word processed, word searched. It's much more challenging, and it becomes difficult to compare because each hospital goes based on system protocols and quality standards. It isn't like a national standard. Every hospital does things a little bit differently. So these things are especially difficult to follow, to use the data in that way. So data models. So oftentimes investigators are asked to map out multiple terms because I may call it emesis, you may call it vomit, I may say bowel movement, you may say stool, and this creates a lot of inconsistency. So you would have to map out multiple terms describing the same care to standardize the nursing language. It's just too all over the place. It's very labor intensive, causes huge delays, takes too long for nurse managers to get the information back. So data models organize this data, standardize how they relate to each other. It's basically a blueprint of how data is structured around clinical concepts. This is a picture of the data model process. You identify clinical data, identify the concepts, you map it out, you present, you validate. So this is all to reduce the amount of work to get everything on the same page. So you would map that vomit and emesis are the same, that stool and bowel movement are the same. And also you map things that go together. So for pain management, you would map the type of pain, the location, the duration, the scale. And there's a spelling error there. And any other relevant facts. This is to get all these things to pull together. So when you do this data pull, all these things pull because you will need them all to, use for any data. So in conclusion, there are a lot of innovative opportunities. This is, a great look for the future. The ability to find patterns of care and predict care or care needed, predict risk. But in order to do that, it's important that you need to standardize because pulling all this data, it's just too much data, especially in nursing. Data needs to be critiqued because, everyone's doing things differently. And this could really lead to huge improvements of care. There's so much data. If you can get it together and predict the right things, you can really save a lot of time. You can save a lot of injury. You can save a lot of adverse events. So data mining is very useful when it can be used. Thank you.